What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Canes Insight Daily Podcast. I'm Peter Ariz, and as always, this show is brought to you by the law offices of Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733 to take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. I'm holding it down solo today. D-Money's handling some business. And of course, we go Monday through Friday. We've been doing this daily show now for over a year. And I think the only date, maybe one time we've missed during the week for a holiday. So we got to keep it coming. It's spring break, so there's not practice going on this week. But we've had a bunch of podcasts here. We've talked about the first week or so and the early observations from that. So I wanted to get into 5 freshmen, and look, it's me speaking here, but obviously also talking to D-Money and some of the stuff that he's seen and heard out there. These aren't just guys that we have seen them have early success and show some strong impressions early on, but depth chart wise, there's potentially some things that could break their way as well. So, obviously, get your questions in, get your comments, and we will continue to answer things as best as we can. And hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as always. But again, going to be talking here for a bit about 5 freshmen who we believe could be early players for Miami here, early impact players. And we will start with Hayden Lowe, of course, 5-star freshman who flipped to Miami from USC. And right off the bat, as I pull up a picture of him, as I'm doing this solo right now, but you see the picture here of Hayden Lowe that Gabby Arudia tweeted out. There's not going to be any sort of physical there shouldn't be, at least, right? Just seeing him walk around, there shouldn't be that big of a jump for him, right? We talk about on the defensive and offensive lines, as he's an edge guy, but on the defensive and offensive lines, these guys sometimes, that jump from high school to college is very difficult, right? From their body type standpoint. A lot of them have the frame to put on weight, but maybe aren't ready to do that right off the bat. We look at a Marquise Lightfoot, a Booker Pickett that we were excited about this year, but Hayden Lowe comes in right now already looking bigger than those guys. And they're different players. We've talked about it. Those guys rely a bit more on speed, but Hayden Lowe, looking at the depth chart, you have obviously Ruben Bain, who we've seen him speak recently, has dropped some weight, has slimmed down a bit. It could still potentially slide inside on pass rushing situations, but looks like he's going to be playing more of a defensive end role. Akeem Mesidor coming back, defensive end. So after that, you have a lot of opportunities up for grabs. Armando Blunt, D-Money's talked about. He's a guy who's taken some good steps. Just turned 18 years old, so needed that year without a doubt. But as again, his Hayden Lowe picture up here, just obviously pretty ridiculous what he looks like as a guy who's not only a true freshman but an early enrollee, right? So again, the depth chart looks like a situation where he could jump in and get himself some serious reps, right? You're losing Tyler Barron there, who played a bunch last year. Obviously, his reps kind of as the year went on diminished a bit, but to me is going to be a battle, right? You have Cole McConaughey, who's been a bit dinged up, but excited about him. Looks like he's added really, really good weight and was playing a bit early on last year. We saw him even, in the Louisville game, middle part of the season. So you have Marquise Lightfoot, obviously Booker Pickett, Malik Bryant also, and a lot of them have that pass rushing, they're more pass rushers than all around defensive linemen at this point. Because that's where I think Lowe could kind of separate himself with that size. As I work through this list, you're going to get on some of these comments. And Dwayne Johnson, man, I appreciate you coming on here. And like I've said before, when I do these solo shows, D's the heart and soul of Kane's Insight, obviously. But sometimes he says some stuff I don't agree with, but I also don't feel like going back and forth with him and arguing on, because I just don't have the energy, or I just know he's stuck in his ways on a certain argument. And the Brashard Smith thing, as you said, Dwayne, he said, let's discuss D-Money downplaying first team all conference Brashard Smith. I get what he's saying, and I preface what I said yesterday with it, that, look, Miami's offense was incredible last year, but I'm sorry. You figure out a way to get him on the field. When he's saying, well, where would he have played? Man, you get him on the field and you scheme him the ball. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. Obviously, it all worked out, but yeah, that's a whole nother discussion for another day, man. I'm glad you made that comment. Heel says, why does Justin Scott look so sloppy and fat? Obviously, there's been pictures of him that have come out here at practice. He's put on a lot of weight. Last year, seeing him early on in practice, he was, as a guy who came in as a basketball player, really lean. Sometimes these guys do everything to an extreme to get their body to a certain point when he knew he needed to add weight to be able to be a consistent player for this team. But man, to me, he's still moving well, right? So I understand what people may say with a big belly on him, but he needed weight. Number one, he can continue to work on it and make it look a certain way, but the way he's moving with it is a good sign. So, 918 Kane says, look sloppy and fat. We must got different eyes. I'm more with you on that 918. I've seen some pictures where I understand how people would say, wow, he's got a big belly on him. I want my defensive tackles looking like that. We need more guys like that, especially with his athletic profile. So, again, I can see both sides to it, but I want him looking closer to how he looks now than what he looked like last year as a true freshman. That got some good reps in, and we're excited about his ceiling, but this was a necessary step. So he can continue to chisel up and get it looking a certain way, but he's moving well that way. We've heard stories before, guys on Green Tree who put weight on, and it's right away they're not moving the same. So, guys, let me keep moving through this 5 freshmen who could play early for the Canes, and I'll get back to the comments. I don't want to break up the flow of it too much here. And so Hayden Lowe, number 1, Luca Gilbert, and I already saw a comment there about Brock Schott, hoping that he was on the list. He's not on the list. Love Brock Schott as a player. I think he's a potential Swiss Army knife and real mismatch problem for this team moving forward. Not sure if it's right here, right now. Shout out to my boy Alec, right here, right now. That's his phrase. But you look at Luca Gilbert, and I think he can replace some of what you're missing with Cam McCormick with that blocking element. And near the goal line was a really nice extra tight end and just big physical body. You don't normally want to count on true freshmen for a role like that, but seeing this guy out there at practice, and then outside of the blocking side and because you see it on his tape in high school, there is an element of, and I'm going to pull up this video that we had tweeted out earlier this week. This is not a great video for what I'm saying. If you're watching the video part of this is not really going to show you like what I'm about to say right now, which is that for a big dude, he's not stiff, right? This is just him running a pretty straight linear route with no defender, and it's, not full speed or anything like that. But it's, when you see this guy out there running routes, and I saw a couple other people who were out of practice tweet something similar, that he moves well for his size, right? So it's not like if you were to put him in the game as a blocker, he'd probably be used more as a blocker early on in his career. But I think he has a skill set where it's not a dead giveaway that it's just going to be a run play with him, or him not really be much of a threat in the receiving game. So I think again, when we talk about players who could play early as freshmen, it's not only how good they are and how ready they are physically and from a football standpoint, but what does the depth chart look like? And I think he potentially could fill a role that you might be missing there. You brought in Bauman from Tulane, see him more as a, red zone type, third down, converting first downs, soft hands, really good down the field. But Luca Gilbert could bring something different. And then Elijah Lofton, I don't just put him as a tight end. I think they're gonna spread him out wide. They're gonna put him in the slot, in the backfield, H-back. So I think Gilbert slots into more of your traditional inline tight end. So that's number 2 on this list for a freshman who could play early for the Miami Hurricanes this year. Again, based off early returns here in spring practice. Number 3, Girard Pringle. Right now, would say he's running back number 3 behind Jordan Lyle and Mark Fletcher. And obviously, you have Chris Wheatley-Humphrey in that room as well. So someone that redshirted last year, and excited to see what he can do in the spring. But Pringle, someone coming over as a true freshman. Again, you got the quicks with him. He's a shorter back, but he's compact. He's not skinny, right? So he can bounce off of tackles. Let me pull up just a quick look at him in practice here. And you see it kind of what I was going to say. You kind of see it here. He's compact, but the combination of the quicks and then that, the agility that he brings to the table, he can kind of squeeze through tight holes. You know what you're going to get with Mark Fletcher, consistently going to be able to eat up chunks of yards, 4, 5, 6 yards with ease and always falling forward. We understand what he is, a short yardage back as well. And then Lyle, we think can do it all and gives you a little bit of that long speed too. And Pringle, can he be a guy who's using the return game as well? Could he be used as a receiver out of the backfield? It's very, very important to understand what these young players, what are they looking like in terms of their ability as blockers and picking up blitzers. Jordan Lyle, that was something that helped his case to get on the field early last year, even though he had Mark Fletcher in front of him, a Damian Martinez who came in as a highly paid running back and someone who's going to get picked now in the NFL. So depth chart wise, looks good for Pringle. Will they add someone in the portal? We'll see. I know they feel good, as D Money's talked about Lofton as a potential guy who gets carries out of the backfield in not only in case of need, but just someone that you actually scheme that for because his skill set is that unique. So Girard Pringle, number 3 on this list. So we've had Hayden Lowe, Luca Gilbert, Girard Pringle. We're going to stay on the offensive side of the ball here for number 4, and that's Malachi Toney. Probably, maybe someone that we've hyped up the most out of any of the newcomers. I've said it in my instant reaction after practice. D Money said it yesterday that's really someone who has just taught not only stuff he's seen, but talking to people has impressed. And here you see a tweet from Andrew Farrelly, who posted, an early body transformation. So this picture's from February 26th, and this was pretty much 6-7 weeks after Toney got on campus, right? So looks ready to take hits, right? He looks like these modern slots. It's not, everyone talks about the slot receiver and say, yeah, you need someone shifty and fast in the slot. Yeah, they need to have those attributes, but you still need someone with some toughness and with some meat on their bones because you're playing across the middle there. And I think Toney, as we've seen early on, is coming in to take snaps from people. We're excited about JoJo Trader potentially be a number 1. You have CJ Daniels as a transfer. We chose Toney, and D Money wanted me to specify this. that we chose Toney, but really you could say that about any of the three. You can say what we're saying here about any of the three freshman wide receivers: Josh Moore, Dalen Upshaw, different types, all of them. Obviously, Moore has made waves as a physical specimen, big dude, can move. Dalen Upshaw really has a nice all-around game as a wide receiver, and coming in from Alabama competitively is ready to go. So all three of these guys could play this year. We'll say Toney right now, and he's been the hot name early on. But yeah, that's what I will say on Malachi Toney. So last name here, and we've mentioned him a few times. I think he was definitely under the radar from I don't know, from Canes fans' perspective, just because I think there's people locally who are very aware of this guy and excited about him, but nationally maybe didn't get the same praise, even though he was a 4-star. Chris Ewald out of Chaminade, Madonna, defensive back. And I think this one may be, because a lot of this stuff that we've talked about is maybe driven because of the depth chart and certain things that could open up there. But to me, this one is one that he's kind of like earning his spot there, even with everyone who's been brought into the transfer portal. And here we got D Money hopping in.
What's up, man?
How you doing, man? I've just ran through this list of names of freshmen that could play early that we were talking about earlier, and I was just finishing up on Chris Ewald. So if you want to kind of give a synopsis on each of these guys, finishing up with Ewald here, who, like I was just saying, I think game ready, the length, the competitiveness, South Florida guy, technique really good. I think when the lights come on at that position at defensive back, it's one thing to say guys have put together good reps in practice, but I think he's someone you can count on when the actual games start.
Yeah, he's somebody that was singled out to me, talking to numerous sources, as somebody who really hit the ground running. Obviously, it's so early, right? But defensive back, you can see how somebody moves. You can see how someone, what kind of technique they have, their length, their attitude. I think all those things were very good for Chris Ewald. So, look, we'll see when the tackling starts and people really are challenging these corners to get guys to the ground. Probably won't see that part of it until scrimmage, but you'll see the physicality ramp up. But I think he's somebody who, again, he's been singled out. You guys can't tell, me and Pete talked about this before the show. A lot of these names that he's mentioning were singled out to me and to him, through sources as guys to keep an eye on. Not an exhaustive list. Again, it's super early, and these are just some guys we wanted to highlight. Maybe some of them haven't been talked about as much as early contributors. So Ewald has a lot of buzz. You saw O.J. Frederic really play a lot last year, obviously, and make a huge impact as a true freshman at corner. So I'm not saying Ewald's going to do that, but he will have an opportunity to make some plays. Couple questions I want to get to, Pete. Is Chris Ewald a nickel from Juan Manuel Ventura? He's playing some nickel. He's playing both. Did you get the Stephen Aveo's question here?
No, I had to get back to it. Is there a scenario where Emory stays after spring, maybe get an NIL bump? I mean, we'll see what happens here throughout spring. I don't know that NIL is necessarily something that would keep him here. If you're in Emory's spot, I'm sure he wants to play. I'm not sure that a little bit more cash is going to move him, especially knowing the type of guy that he is. But look, if he cements himself as the backup here, winning the backup job coming out of spring, being far and away the best quarterback, if that is the case, right, then maybe there's an argument for him to stick around. I don't know.
Yep, I think that's right. We don't know. So no one knows what someone's going to do in the future. I've heard a million things, different ways about kids, like going back years since the portals existed. You just got to kind of wait and see. Never say never. Never say for sure. I missed this question from Dwayne Johnson. He said,
I had my fun with this one.
Let's discuss Steve Money downplaying first team all conference for Rashard Smith. Look, I will say he made the right decision for him, for SMU. It worked out great for him, worked out great for us. I will just highlight that Miami's yards per attempt last year with a very conservative run scheme that emphasized not taking tackles for loss. So Miami's run scheme last year very much was built around avoiding losses. You don't want to put Cam Ward behind the sticks. You want to give him favorable down and distance. So that's why the splits were so tight. That's why Miami did certain things just to, play it safe. Now, while playing it safe, because their offensive line was so dominant, their running backs were so good, they were 5th in the nation in yards per carry at 5.6. And Power 4, they were 3rd. New Mexico, number 1. Kansas State with the running quarterback, number 2. Boise State with Ashton Jeanty, number 3. Notre Dame with a running quarterback and Jeremiah Love, number 4. Then Miami, number 5. SMU on that same list, 81st is in yards per carry. So, Miami's running game was big time last year, particularly as it applied to Cam Ward, because it allowed him to dominate third down. We were the best third down team in the country by far. So what I'm saying is Miami's running game was built to do exactly what it did. Roll out 200-plus pound backs that just overwhelmed you. And I don't know where Brashard Smith fits into that offense that's already ranked number 1. He'd be a great kick returner, and he's going to be a good player for someone. I think he will have a chance in the NFL, and he was good for SMU, great for SMU. But you got to look at how would he fit for us and how would he improve us. And when you're the number 1 offense, it's hard to get better, especially when he doesn't necessarily fit into the position that he would have played, that he played at SMU. We wouldn't have fit here. So anyways, I got a question here about Markel Bell. How's he progressing? I thought he looks good. I thought he looked good. I know a lot of people love him in the building. He's considered someone really smart. He has more than enough athleticism for how big he is. He's not going to be as athletic as someone who's like 6'4" and big time athlete, but he's almost 6'9", and lean. So with his size and length being what it is, I think he's more than athletic enough. He's not a stiff, and he's going to keep getting better and better because he works hard. Pete, I know you're a big fan.
Yeah, I think he was judged on. I don't know if it was in the comment section or on Twitter. I saw someone really going in on him the other day, saying that he wasn't very good last year. And I say this all the time. I think, as Johnny Lagoon said, he had some bad moments against Virginia Tech, and then there was another game that I think maybe he gave up a sack in, or maybe it was just that Virginia Tech game. He gave a bad sack and then had that holding call that I didn't think was much of a holding, but had a couple bad moments. But like, you look at how many other snaps there were that you don't even think about it. But that's the life of an offensive lineman. You have a couple bad snaps and everyone judges you on those. But if he continues to clean those things up, then I don't see why he can't be one of the best in the country.
Yep, I agree. I think there's going to be the best offensive line around. Maybe Notre Dame, has a claim, a legitimate claim. We'll find out pretty early. But this offensive line should be one of the best in America. But I'm getting some questions from people about players, that we're not hearing enough about. Without saying anybody specifically, remember, this is spring, so they're very cautious with minor nicks and things like that. So you might not hear about someone because they're being held out with something minor. But I can tell you, aside from the injuries you guys know about, there's no major injuries, but some guys may be being held out just for minor stuff. And that might be why you don't hear about them better or worse. So that's sort of the generic answer to a question I'm getting on a lot of guys.
Kane's Cat C305 says, are we still recruiting JUCO ranks for guys like Markel Bell? I mean, look, I don't think they're against recruiting at any level. I'm not saying Miami was on this kid, but you saw the number 1 running back at JUCO last year, Wayman Jordan, ended up at USC. Like, there's top level players in a JUCO level for whatever reason. And if they can fill a need, then I don't think Mario and staff would be opposed to taking any of those guys.
Yeah, the JUCOs have been good to Miami in the past. You look back to the 2000, 2001 teams. They had a lot of junior college players. Butch Davis was really big on that. So that's always something to keep in mind. I think one thing with junior college, you always have to be careful why someone's at junior college, right? If there's, off the field stuff or whatever. Markel Bell's somebody who went to junior college because he was a late bloomer and wanted to develop, and that's why he went. He's very smart. He's very clean off the field. So you feel good about a guy like that. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, similar. They're junior college guys, but they're junior college because of just late bloomers. So I think that those are the kind of guys you want to get. Not that you can't get somebody who maybe lack grades or something coming out of high school, but I think there's less of those guys than there used to be. There used to be a ton of guys going to JUCO. I feel like these days you're not seeing as many guys go to JUCO. I guess the online classes and stuff help these guys get qualified. That's just my speculation. But, as someone who's been following recruiting since like 98, since I was a kid, it seemed like there were more JUCOs back then than there are now, meaning guys that are like 5-star, 4-stars that go to JUCO.
JD official says, are we still confident in OJ Frederick? The Syracuse game, we saw him struggling against a taller receiver. I would say exactly what I just said about Markel Bell. He had, and Frederick to even a more extreme extent in that he was a freshman All-American and had a stellar, teams weren't throwing at him. So had a bad game, obviously. And he would tell you that as well, but I'm not going to count one game against him in the resume of the season that he put out, which was really, really strong.
Yeah, he played good in the bowl game too before he got nicked up. He almost had that pick, which was really confident play on the ball. So I think he showed in that game, at least to me, that he was okay mentally. So I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to be great with especially with the help he's getting now. Syracuse is a tough opponent for a corner. They big contested catch receivers, old guys. So a young player like that with a quarterback that's hot, you're not getting a lot of help up front. I think it was a recipe for disaster for really all the DBs, him included.
Canes Cats Heat 305 asking about 2026 players basketball that you think Miami will be recruiting. And D, we were texting before the show about maybe talking about potential portal targets. I'm doing my best to gather info right now. It's difficult because he doesn't have a staff. Coach Lucas doesn't have a staff. I saw him this morning at I don't know what time was that, like 8:00 maybe on campus around the Hecht. He was on the phone already making moves, but he's by himself right now. He doesn't have a staff. It's just him. He was walking around with someone else. I don't know who it was, but I don't know who the targets are going to be because I'm sure that. And look, stuff's in place. We have a good idea on some of the assistants, but a lot of who the targets are going to be, whether it's in the portal and recruiting wise, will be based on who are the assistants and where are their ties. So as soon as I said this during the coaching search, right? Everyone was asking for updates, and trust me, I'm as interested in this as I am anything when it comes to the Canes. So I will be all over it. We're monitoring everything, and we'll bring that to you. I do think, I posted this on the basketball board last night. I do believe Mr. Dean from South Carolina Upstate, and that is his name, Mr. Dean, is going to be a potential target in the portal. He's going to have a lot of suitors. He's probably going to command a lot of money, so we'll see. Again, when you have to potentially bring in like 11 to 13 new players on a team, you're not saying that everyone you're going to bring in is going to be like a focal point of the team. Everyone's going to have to play different roles, but you got to bring in a whole new team. And this has been one of the worst teams in the country the last 2 years. So you've got to add a lot of bodies and make it work together, which obviously it hadn't the last 2 years, but this year in particular, when you brought in so many new players.
Yep. Question here from Evanston Alexis. What's your guess on the starting secondary for game one? This is a total guess. It's March 11th. I'm just, I'll go ahead and say where I'm thinking with this. Do not take this to the bank. This is, again, way, way early. This is just kind of my prediction. If you had to put me in the spot right now, I would say some combination of Frederick, Lucas, and Ethan O'Connor at corner. And then let's say Zechariah Poyser and Dylan Day at safety. Again, this is just my guess. This is not like anything to put too much stock in. I don't think anybody knows what the starting secondary is going to be. It's way too early. It's not like they have a secret list and they're putting it in laminated paper there in the back. This is what I think it would be based on what I've seen of those guys and know about those guys on March 11th. But it's a long off season.
Yeah, I agree on Dylan Day. I think I'm not got to see it, but I don't know what the limitation is with him. I think he can play in coverage. I think he's willing to tackle and be physical. And I think he's twitchy and he can run. So got to put it all together. And look, like Jaden Harris was a guy that we've talked about it. Smart kid, good athlete. the play speed wasn't there, right? So let's see when he gets out there, how he puts it all together. But I think what we saw special teams wise from him last year is a really good sign.
Yeah, and look, a really good sign is when you're in the Dayland Dining Pavilion and you see that Islas Canarias Express marquee up there standing strong. Because if you're hungry and you want to get the best Cuban food in Miami, you don't have to go all the way out west anymore. You can go right to Dayland Mall in the dining pavilion, close to campus, close to the train, close to everything, and get pretty much the full menu of the legendary Islas Canarias restaurant, voted all the time the best Cuban food in Miami. This is almost getting close to 50 years, almost 40 plus in terms of serving the Miami community. And you go to the dining pavilion in Dayland, you got 7 different types of croquetas. You got all the steak options, chicken. You got cubaritos, which is kind of a twist on a burrito Cuban style if you're just on the go. So again, the traditional kind of stuff, the more on the go things. It is the absolute best place. Look at the menu right there. You got the bowls.
For pickup or delivery there. So
it's as quick as it can be without sacrificing quality. You got all the different empanadas, yuca bites, which I love. These are just little salty treats on the way. And you got, some sweets, some guayaba, pequeño, which is actually Venezuelan, but they take care of you with that. So just a lot of different items, which are both kind of innovative, like loaded fries. You didn't have that back in Havana in 1959, but you can get that. Then you can get the classic stuff. Plus you got kids meals, everything you want at Islas Canarias Express.
I'm hungry,
Shout out
man.
to the
I'm hungry
buffalo
now.
cauliflower from Johnny Lagoon. Keeping it healthy. Kevin Dennis, some names at receiver for portals or classified information. Well, look, there's no one in the portal right now, so no information there, but I would say I expect at least one heavy hitter receiver and then potentially another receiver as well. We'll see how the spring goes. But I think JoJo Trader is really emerging as a number one type of player. And Malachi Toney. Those are the 2 guys that are on the roster right now that are jumping out, but they're not the only ones. There's other really good players in the mix. Nikar, Josh Moore, Dalen Upshaw, get Chance Robinson back here soon. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Ray Joseph looks slimmer, more explosive. So
that's what I said. I said that in the did you hear me say that the other day? Or about Ray. I said that on one of my instant reactions, and I told someone at practice the other day. I'm not gonna say who it was. One of our buddies. I told someone, and I was like, "Man, Ray looks slimmer," and they were like, "You think so?" I don't know, and I was like, "No, Ray looks slimmer, and it looked like he was his cuts were a little bit smoother. I think he put on a lot of weight just trying to bulk up and get stronger the year before. That he lost some of that juice." And from what I've seen in practice, definitely looks slimmer. So I'm glad you saw the same thing.
100%. All right, Pete, I'll give it back to you. Got to get back to it. I had a window here, wanted to pop in. Sorry about my being in and out, just handling something, but we'll be back full speed probably tomorrow with Mike Ryan. It'll be fun.
Yeah, with Mike Ryan. Yep. So
Pete's holding it down though. Pete needs to bask in all of his glory as the insider of the year this year for the Canes.
And it's that story's done, man. We're on to the next. So just got to keep going.
See you.
All right, D. All right, guys. Yeah, so I'll be wrapping up here in a couple minutes. I've pretty much talked about the 5 freshmen who could play early for the Canes. We will. It looks like D's still here in the back line, but I'll say it anyways. He's crazy on the Rashard Smith take. Dwayne. I'm not saying that he would have, as you're suggesting here. Dwayne Johnson said, let's just say he would have been here behind that line. Dwayne says he thinks he might have taken Fletcher's spot. I just think you find a way. I'm not saying it's taking anyone's spot. They're different types of players, but it's not necessarily taking touches away from one player. You had 6 players involved in the offense, right? Maybe it's a touch away from each of them, right? And you get him the ball, 10, 15 times a game. I don't know, man. That's a guy I think you need to get the ball. But again, neither here nor there. We'll keep it moving on the Canes Inside Podcast. Vladi says LMAO, thanks, Pete. Man. I do see what D's saying though. Like there is a certain point. It's like how many weapons can you have and how can you efficiently get them all the ball for your offense. But Give me that speed, please. And the NFL thinks so too. Again, he's going to be a third, fourth round pick. So yeah, I'll side with the NFL there, and he was very productive this year. So yeah, we'll see what happens here moving forward. We got, again, like I said, spring break this week at Miami. So no practice going on. They'll be back next week, and we'll have you covered on Canes Insight. It's spring break, so that weather, obviously beautiful down here in Miami, and you want to get ready at the Miami Hurricane team store across from campus, MiamiHTS.com, and see the Columbia, see the fishing gear here. Weather's always great down here in South Florida, obviously, but you gotta stock up now. You got the headwear. Summer is coming as well, so baseball hats. So check out MiamiHTS.com, Insight20 promo code for 20% off your order. Again, MiamiHTS.com. As Johnny Lagoon says, shout out to Jeremy. And Canes Cat C305 says you can only get the Columbia new stuff at the team store. So go check it out. Again, across from campus, they're connected to the Thesis Hotel. Go check it out. And guys, thank you all for joining us today here on the Canes Insight Daily Podcast. Hit that like, subscribe to the channel. We will see you guys tomorrow. Go Canes.